Today I will be reviewing Derren Brown-Svengali. Yeah, Svengali. Enjoy. Well, hope you enjoyed that little creepy intro music going on there. But yeah, Svengali, spelled Svengali. It's about a guy back in 1760. This is the main story to it. It's about a man called Hugo von Vash. Back in 1760, he created this. He had a son, so he did, who was 6 years old, and his son passed away, and he made this doll, and he called it Svengali. And the doll he made it. It was different because the doll was a machine, so it was an automaton, and filled with clockwork and all that stuff. And he did shows with this doll, so he did, and the shows were like, they were based around Hungary and stuff. They were like 40 people, shows with like 40 people, not that many people in it. But what intrigued the people that most was, how was this like machine boy doing this? But what he done was, what the idea of it was, Svengali sat in a chair, so he did, and there was a letterboard beside him that went from A to Z and 0 to 9, and he was, people that like passed away and stuff would, like, people's would come up with people they knew passed away and stuff, and would have opened the letter, and they would have rang a bell, and Svengali would have pointed the name out and spelt the name. Another thing that Svengali done was, he had the ability to possess the people that were watching him as viewers, and that guy Hugo von Vash, who made him, he got really possessed, like obsessed with this doll, like this machine, and he would have spent day and night working at this doll, and in dim light he would have like been working with this doll, and he was obsessed with it. So he was, to the point where he actually got blinded, like he went blind, and that was it. It was after that there, he couldn't work with the doll anymore. He soon later passed away, and whenever he passed away, he was just carried on through time with like different stages, actors, and like not musicians, magicians and stuff like that there. And after that there, it was about 5 years ago in Philadelphia, it was bought by Derren Brown, and now Derren Brown has Svengali, and he shows the people what Svengali can do. The start off show, it was very cool, so it was very interesting. So it was like, it was funny as well. Like he had a game called Please Darren Help Me Find My Shoe or something like that there. It's pretty weird, has a funny song and stuff like that there. Also, he done a thing called it was another thing, it was like most embarrassing confessions and stuff. Actually, the one that I was watching on TV the other night was a guy was caught masturbating while in detention, which was quite funny. That was the most confession. And the one in Belfast, the confession that was out, was a guy slept with his brother's wife while his parents were downstairs. It's another funny one. They're all funny, embarrassing confessions. And then it brought in Svengali, like how Svengali works and stuff like that there, and Derren Brown gave out a bit of information about Svengali, and he said about the way Svengali works, and he also put a microphone into Svengali, like into the clockwork. It showed, like, so you can hear him working, and he brings out a bell and he rings a bell, and Svengali responds to it. What happened was, whenever I went with my friend, whenever we saw him in Belfast in March, after the interval, like where you go out and get a drink and stuff and you come back, they put a stamp on your hand, which Svengali has in his hand, and he rings the bell, and you have to what you do beforehand, you close your eyes and you imagine your hand being stuck like that there, and then you open it and your self-conscious works in, and whenever your self-conscious actually notices that, it sticks 10 times harder. And then Derren Brown rings the bell again, and Svengali raises his hand, and your hand moves with Svengali's hand. It worked on me, but it didn't work on my mate that was with me. And after that there, he picks somebody out from the audience that has it. Somebody came up, and he gives them, if the person's right-handed, so he puts a board on their right hand, and he puts them into like a sleep and stuff like that there, and then puts them in a wheelchair so he can sit down. And whenever he puts him in a wheelchair and sets him down, he puts a board on his hand like there, and a chalk on his left hand, so he can't write with his left hand normally. But whenever the doll possesses him, there's a handkerchief that the doll has in his pocket, which was a handkerchief that says 2 initials, and the initials say like all the stuff that's like, the initials are just they're just the initials that Svengali has in his pocket. And he gets the board and he puts it on his hand there, and he gives this, and then he rings the bell. Svengali points to the initial, like to the first word, and then the guy writes it, and he points to the second word then, and the guy writes it, and the guy has no idea that he's writing this. And after that there, excuse me, after that there, Derren Brown rings the bell again, and Svengali, it shows you the letters was DS, so it was. And then whenever he puts all that, he ends with all that stuff, he wakens the guy up, and he puts him at a table, and he gets a needle, and he puts his hand into a state where he can't feel it, and he sets his hand on the table, and it goes to about there, where there down the guy can't feel it, but up here he can. And he keeps tapping his hand, and it gets to there or there, and he can't feel his arm, like his hand. And after that there, he gets the guy, he puts the skin up like that there, and he gets the guy to put a needle through his skin. It's actually pretty cool, so it is, because the guy can't feel his hand at all. And then after that there, that's the end of the part of Svengali. And then he does this artist thing where people want to learn how to paint. So he comes up, all the people in the front row at the auditorium put their wee thingies in, like they'll write a name of a famous person down and put it in. And then he gets, it's actually funny because he goes, I'm gonna introduce you to a person called Annette. So he goes up to the stage and he brings out this thing, and he's like pulling away at it, and it's one pole tied onto another pole with a net on the end. He goes, meet Annette. It's quite funny actually. And then he goes along the road, and they put all the information, all the celebrity names into it. And then, excuse me, whenever he puts all the celebrity names into it, a guy just randomly picks out one, and he goes, and the guy that picks it out puts his arm on Derren Brown there, or puts his hand on his arm like that there, and Derren Brown's able to read what the picture of the guy is. Like he visualizes a picture of it, and Derren Brown starts painting then, and then he sets the guy down, like gets the guy to sit down, and then he starts painting. So he does. We didn't know what the hell he was painting, so we didn't. So he was sitting there painting away, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Next minute he swept it upside down, and it was actually, he kept painting, and then within the space of like, what, 5 minutes or so, he painted like a really good portrait of Johnny Depp. That was the one in Belfast, but the one on TV that I saw last night, it was actually a portrait of Elvis, which was quite funny, so it was. And then the climax after that there, it's like a wee interval thing again, and then there's a climax at the end. The climax at the end is all these balloons fall down, and it's somebody's birthday, and all these balloons fall down, and he matches these numbers to these boxes. These people randomly pick like 3 balloons out of about 150 balloons that fell. 3 people pick 3 random balloons, so they do, and it turns out the balloons say the odds of what it was of getting that, and then the date of that, which was really weird. You have to watch it to understand what I'm saying. That's it really. Derren Brown, Svengali, friggin' amazing. Make sure you actually check it out, and check out some of his other stuff as well. I know there's a show called Evening of Wonders, which is really good. It's really good. And then his last tour before Svengali was Enigma. Enigma was really, really good. So it was actually one of the ones I was watching, Enigma, or he puts this like there's all these cards of people, so it was called, and it's a thing called Guess Who, and he brought it up, and he was like a card of a guy called Brian, and he was like, this here, what way does this go? he doesn't look like a Brian, and then he does a Stewie Griffin impression. So he's like, "Hey Brian, look at the stripper." It's quite funny actually. You should actually watch that. So you should. It's really good. And then there's The Gathering, which has a load of celebrities in it, like Jonathan Ross and Simon Pegg, all them ones. There's a pretty interesting show. There's actually TV shows that he does called Russian Roulette and all that stuff, and he has another show which I pretty fond of. It's called Hero at 30,000 Feet. You should check all them out. They're pretty cool, so they are. And comment, rate and subscribe, and let me know what you think if you watch Svengali, or if you've seen it live. Tell me what you think. I personally thought it was an experience. Derren Brown has to be one, if not is the best magician that I've seen anyway, and he never fails at anything, so he doesn't. And also he's the best magician, and he's the best live. No one can come close to him. He's just friggin' amazing live, so he is. But anyway, check them out, and comment below and let me know.